everyone that's been on this channel. I was supposed to go live tonight. It's Thursday. We're gonna do stick around. So if you're new here, I'm gonna get into the video in a sec. But if you're new here, I'm gonna be doing. We do like HIVE advice, where if you have anything while you're going through that you want to talk about, our community on this channel is incredible. Incredible. I love you all so much. We're all different. We're all very kind, and we're all about just, supporting each other. So I usually do videos, but we're gonna do live. I'm gonna go live, and we're gonna kind of have some sessions where we're gonna, talk about the things that you guys are going through in life, and we're gonna get live feedback from everyone in the Hive and from me and all that. So stay tuned. I'm gonna be posting in my community tab when that is. I was supposed to do it today, but YouTube said they needed 24 hours heads up before I do it, so my bad. But with all that said and done, let's get into this video. So I thought this video would be cool because I don't know about you, but I'm always really curious what people do for work. So for instance, I don't know how old you are, but most likely if you're older than 18, or even when you're younger, you're working to make money, to survive, to live in this crazy place called life in the world. And a lot of us focus on the fun things we like to do, but we don't talk about work. So I kind of want to start this. I feel like this isn't really a trend on YouTube, but if you're an ASMR artist, I would love to actually hear you say this. I want you to describe and tell all of us what you do for work, not including YouTube. YouTube is just a passion of mine. What I'm talking about is like day jobs and stuff. And so let's get into it. Also, I'd be down to hear what you do for work down below, but I'm going to give you kind of like a really in-depth description of what I do for work. So, for work, I make people very, very happy, especially people that are very moody. I make them extremely happy. I work at a coffee shop. I do a couple things for work nowadays to make money to pay for rent in LA and all that, so I'll tell you everything I do. But my main gig right now is a coffee shop barista. So if you've ever been to a coffee shop, whether it's Starbucks or the Coffee Bean, or you name it, a boutique coffee shop, you know where I work. There's a difference between Starbucks, like, and Coffee Bean, and like those chains coffee stores, and where I work, which is like a boutique coffee shop. The difference is a couple of things. The difference is for Starbucks and Coffee Bean, from what I know, I haven't actually worked at these main chain coffee places, but what they do is they actually have a lot of automatic systems. They have a lot of people coming in through drive-thrus, right? They have a lot of people wanting fast coffee, wanting it fast like McDonald's, and that's what they cater to. That's why there's tons of Starbucks and everything is very uniform, right? Because of this, that also means that the employees are very uniformly trained as well. So their equipment is automated. The syrups they use are probably shipped to them. Everything is the same, and all they really had to do, and I might be totally wrong, so if you're a Starbucks employee or whatever, but this is my perception, all you need to do is like press buttons and make the drinks, which takes skill. It does. Talking about ratios, how much syrup to milk, and all of that. So that's what they do. I, on the other hand, work at a boutique coffee shop. So I work at a coffee shop in LA. There's, I think, 6 of the stores, and how I kind of like I don't even know if boutique coffee shop is the actual terminology, but the way I think about it is, if you go into a coffee shop and you see baristas working what you call the bar, so it's an espresso machine is the bar. They have handles and they're damping. You will hear the grinder of coffee. They'll damp it and then they'll put it in, swivel it into the machine, and then they'll make your coffee. They will steam your milk. They'll do all of that. That's a boutique coffee shop. And so what makes boutique coffee shop special for my work is that it takes skill to make coffee. It is hard to do, and the reason I got into it was I work and breathe entertainment, so I also have another job as a location scout, which I will get into later if you stick on this video. But there's a writer's strike right now, if you don't know, and when things like this happen, entertainment's very project-based, so because of that, it's good to have sidekicks. I always thought, and let me know if this is how you ever got your work or whatever, I always thought the people at coffee shops were really cool. I thought the baristas were always really attractive. I was always very drawn to them because there was this sense of cool, calm, collected, but then they're doing this magical thing. They're moving all these magical equipment parts. They're steaming milk. It's smelling good, and they're doing all these things while talking and laughing to each other, to the guests, to the customers. And then on top of that, you get your drink and you get latte art. So that's the thing about boutique places too, is you get latte art. So you get like a heart, or you get a tree, or any of that. And I was always just so connected to that because I love working in coffee shops too. Loved writing, so that's how I got into it. But what I do for work every day, I usually, for my work, we work around, it's like 6 hours, and the longest shift could be 8 hours. I think it's like, if you're less than, I think it's like 5 hours and 30 minutes is the shortest shift. If you work, no, it's 6. No, it's 5. It's 5 hours is the shortest. And if you work below 6, you only get 10 minutes off for a break. If you work above 6, you get a lunch, which is half an hour, which is unpaid, and a 10, which is paid. When I say paid, it means that they're paying you for those 10 minutes, even though you have it off. And then if you're at like 8 hours, you get a lunch and 2 10-minute breaks. The shifts, and I know this might sound boring, but like I said, this is going to be a boring ramble. You're just kind of going to learn everything that I know, because I think this is really interesting. The shifts are from 6:30 to 11, so there's 2 people that will open the coffee shop from 6:30 to 11:30, and then the other person will go from 6:30 to 1:30. So the 2 people open the coffee shop at 6:30. The coffee shop opens officially to public at 7, and then a third person will be coming in at 8:30, when the rush really happens for morning breakfast. So the 8:30 person has the longest shift. They work from 8:30 to 4:30, which is the 8-hour shift. And then there's a 4th person that comes in to close, and they come to close at 1:30, so they relieve the other person. So there's always 2 people working, except for after 4:30, from 4:30 to 6:30, that closer is alone. Today I closed the coffee shop, and so the different shifts, you have different priorities. Opening, you have to start making coffee, you taste test, you dial in, which basically means that the cool thing about coffee, you guys, is it's not literally, but we describe it as like living and breathing. The temperature of, the room, of the humidity every day, it can change. Sorry for the siren. it can change the taste of coffee. It changes how it extracts out of the machine. So every day you dial in, which basically means that you use a weight, like a scale, and you're supposed to have, you have like these little cups, and you know, you're supposed to, you have your group head, which is like, if you ever see it, it's like the thing that you put coffee grinds into. So you grind it and then you weigh it for 18 grams, then you tamp it. And this is the thing, it looks easy, but you have to learn how to tamp. You tamp in a way that you use all your body weight into it, and that you do not like roll your wrist. You can really hurt yourself long term if you don't tamp real well. So you basically, tamping is compacting the coffee beans that's grounded up into a really tight cushion into the group head. You do this because the tighter you put it, it makes it hard for the water to come through, allowing the water to kind of extract more out of the coffee that's now compact. Because when it's compact, the water still uses gravity and drips through it, but it just takes longer. Versus if it's more like this, the water can come down, and it's just easier to kind of get through the nooks and crannies. So yeah, so we dial in every morning, and you know, you're doing that with your coffee beans, yeah, and you're tasting, and you're doing all that, and we get pastries. So if you don't know, I think this is common with all coffee shops. I used to think that pastries, you know, like I'm like, oh, where do they buy it? They must be days old. Starbucks maybe, or like coffee maybe. I have no idea. You let me know if you work there. But at these boutique coffee shops, and you'll know it's boutique because it's like, you know, it's like expensive, and it could be like a standalone coffee shop. We have a bakery that bakes all of the pastries every morning at like 4 a.m. and their job, they bake them, and then they have a deliveries guy. They drop them off at every store in the morning. So we'll get all our pastries and put them in the case and everything, and then the public will open the door for the public to come in, and then we start making coffee. Okay, some little hints and what not to do as a customer for coffee. If you can help it, do not, I guarantee you, please do not be the first person to order an espresso, or like be the first person to get a latte, or like anything that has an espresso shot in it when we open. The reason I say this is because when we open, we're still dialing in the espresso shot, so it takes a while for the machine to heat up and for it to like get the right taste. Because of this, it can be a little inconsistent. Your best bet is like to get a latte later on in the day, or literally like 30 minutes after the opening. It's not the end of the world, but if you really love coffee, you know, when we first open, it's better if you come a little bit later than first open, because everything's kind of dialing in still. If that's the only time you can come, do it. But I would recommend getting either an iced coffee, like a cold brew. We brew that in our coffee shop. And okay, this is the cool thing about boutique coffee too, is that we, unlike Starbucks and Coffee Bean, we make everything in-house. So in the back, we make all our syrups. So part of the day, I have to buy different shifts. We have different priorities. Some shifts, like the opening, the first person at least has to make all the syrups, like refill syrups and make cold syrups. So we're always stocked. The second person has to make the cold brew for the day. The third person has to make all of like the chai teas and iced teas, and then the fourth person closes, which is they basically like clean everything. To make life easier, we're always kind of like cleaning when we can and like restocking things, so it's not like really hard on one person. Before you leave your shift, you always do rounds, which is you go around, you like pick up the coffee cups, you restock everything, and you restock the fridge, and you take out trash, and then you can leave. That's just what you always do. Syrups, we have a whole list, and it's usually like we sugar and hot water, and we throw in vanilla syrup, and then we mix it, and you know, it's really hot, and then we cool it, and then we put it in these containers, and that's what you'll see that we put in our drinks, which is really cool. Everything's very local. Well, not I would say like local, like we house it local, but we make it in-house, which I think is awesome. And sometimes I don't think people realize. And yeah, and then cold brew, which I didn't know. So cold brew is the most caffeinated drink you can get. Just putting that out there. My mom, who's literally like in her 60s, she doesn't drink coffee, she just drinks tea. But one summer winter, all she would drink was cold brew, in the jugs, and she was just always so like, she goes to bed so early. She was always up until like she would go to bed at 8 p.m. She'd always be up at like midnight, and she never knew why. And I was like, Mom, as your barista son, like, you were drinking the most caffeinated drink. She had no clue. So just heads up, caffeine levels, let's talk about it. So we have decaf coffee, espresso, which has no caffeine in it. We have espresso, which has caffeine. For teas, which ones is it? I think red tea has no caffeine, green tea has a little bit, and then it goes Earl Grey has a little bit more, and then black is the most. So red has like nothing, green has a little bit of caffeine, and Earl Grey has more than green, and then a black has a lot of caffeine in it. However, teas have less caffeine than coffee. So the lowest caffeinated coffee you can get would be, I think it would be like a filter coffee. That's what you normally would make at home, like, you know, by the pot. And we make those and everything. I think that, or honestly, maybe an espresso drink. It depends what you get. So I think it would be, you know, we get the teas, and I think like a latte, which is like a lot of milk. So this is the thing too, in a boutique coffee shop, you have to know how all the machines work, but you also have to know how all the drinks and all the ratios, and like what's the difference between a cortado and a flat white, and a cappuccino versus a latte, and a macchiato, and all of this. And I can explain it to you because that's what this video is. So the way I've learned is, you know, I used to in New York, there was barista training that I did, and it just takes practice. You eventually kind of gain confidence, as what you probably do in work too. Eventually you do it enough that you're like, oh, I trust myself to do it. This is really good. It's from, I just got off work. It's a black iced tea peach syrup with seltzer water. So it's a sparkling tea, iced tea. Okay, so let's talk about, so caffeine. I think it would be a latte. So it would be teas, and then like a latte. So it would be decaf teas, maybe a latte, and then the less milk you have, the more caffeinated it gets. So it would be, the most milk has a lot is a latte. So here's a trick, ready? All the drinks are all the same. The only thing that changes is the ratio of milk or foam to espresso. The espresso shot always is the same volume unless you ask for an extra shot. Okay, so remember that. Milk, it's just milk volume. The espresso is the same, it's just milk volume. The consistency is usually pretty much the same. I'll talk about when it's not, but that's what it is. So the most milk you can get is a latte. It's going to be espresso with 3/4 milk. Then below that is going to be I think it's a flat white. So we have a latte, and then we have a flat white, and then we have a cappuccino, which is even less milk. Cappuccino is latte. Okay, a latte's like a lot of milk. Cappuccino is probably like 1-to-3 ratio, so it's like a third is espresso and 2/3 is the milk. And then we have a cortado, which is equal, so it goes latte, flat white, and cappuccino, which is the same. Okay. The difference is, and I might be kind of wrong, no one ever really knows the difference between a flat white and cappuccino. I'm taught at my coffee shop to kind of make them the same. I think a flat white, I may be wrong, has less foam. I think cappuccino is a little bit more airy, and a flat white is more liquidy. I'll tell you how we make that in a sec, but so it goes latte has the most milk. Then it goes cappuccino, flat white have the same type of milk underneath latte. Then we have a cortado. A cortado is half espresso and half milk and steamed milk, right? And then we have in my coffee shop we call it a Gibraltar. It's the same thing. And then we have a macchiato. A macchiato, you guys, is a espresso with a dollop of foam. A dollop of foam. Okay. Like a little bit of milk, or barely anything. And then after that it's just an espresso, which is with no milk. And you usually should serve an espresso with sparkling water. That's kind of tradition. So if you're ever in a coffee shop and you get an espresso, you can always ask for sparkling water, and they should give it to you for free. And if they don't, you can just act dumb and be like, oh, but I thought it comes, because every barista, I promise you, has given sparkling water with espresso. It's just how it's done. So yeah, so right, so there's all those drinks, and then, you know, you're throwing syrups in them. Fun. You also, you know, you're steaming milk, so how you steam milk is important too. You make latte art. So the trick, you guys, for latte art is this. I just learned this because I used to watch people and watch videos, and that's how I kind of learned. But then when I did training for this coffee shop, they reminded me they actually talked me through how to do it, like and how to describe it, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. To work here, I had to train for like a month, and then they kind of just like let me go because I've had experience before. And basically what you do is you steam the milk, and there's this picture. If you ever go to a coffee shop, you'll see it. What the barista does is they steam the milk, they let it aerate at the top, and then they will push it up so that the air will be heating up the more of the liquid. You'll usually hear a noise, and that'll be the foam. Okay, so they do that, they heat it, and then what sometimes people do is you'll hear them bang it on the door, on the counter, and they're just getting the air bubbles out. You swirl it until it looks like wet paint. And then you get your espresso, you get your milk, and this is the trick. You use gravity. This is the most important thing I didn't realize. So you tilt your cup and you pour. Okay, and you pour, and it mixes it until you get like kind of to the top of the cup. It's tilted, and then what you do is you come really close, and then you start pouring, and that's when the white foam, you know, that does the latte art, will begin to show, and you'll tilt the cup so it will pull it forward, and then you will make your art. The easiest one to make is it's hard because all you do is you literally just pour it, and you flip the cup, and then you just pour away from yourself, and it will make a heart. A tree is the same thing, but instead of just holding it, you will zigzag, and then you'll go forward, and that's how you do a tree. I don't know how to do anything else yet, but maybe I will. So yeah, it's gravity, and it takes practice, but it's really fun. So yeah, so we're in charge of all that stuff, and then on top of that, you're also like talking to the customers, which I absolutely adore. You know, and I view this too, it's like coffee is, you make someone's day. People go there, you know, to start their day, to get a pick-me-up, to kind of like, it's like therapy. It's to make them feel good, and a lot of times people want to talk, and the nice thing about my coffee shop is we're a very local coffee shop, meaning that it's people that come live in the area, the people that work there live in the area, I live in the area, and it's a really good way to meet your community. So that's what I really like. We talk, you see regulars, you remember their orders, you kind of get like snippets of their lives, and you're just giving them a really warm drink that they love. That's what I do, which I absolutely adore, and I've been, you know, yeah, we're also in charge, making everything. Cold brew, by the way, I know I was trying to talk about what cold brew is. How we make it is, we literally take coffee beans, we grind them, and then we literally put them in the back, and we steep them in just like cold water for 24 hours. We put them in a bag, and they seep. And then we put them in the fridge. The reason they're so cold, the reason why it's so caffeinated, espresso beans lose their caffeine when they're heated up. It just happens. It's something with a chemical reaction. They lose their caffeinated powers. They're still caffeinated, but not as much as when they're cold. Someone figured this out, so that's why they do cold brew. But cold brew also, they steep it for so long, so heat helps really extract and make it seep faster. That's why, if you have a pot, it takes like 6 minutes. Cold brew takes 18 hours to do. Is it 18? Yeah, or 14 hours to do. What is it? No, it's 18 hours to do. So we will do it in the afternoon, and then the next morning, the baristas will take it out, and then they'll put it in the fridge to cool it. So that's what cold brew is. It's very, very caffeinated and very delicious. And that's the most caffeinated thing you can get. So yeah, so that's what I do for work. I think it's around like $17 an hour, not including tips. Tips are probably like $23 an hour. It's enough to make rent, and it's honestly really fun. The people I work with are kind of turning into my friends. I'm going to one of their birthday parties tomorrow, and it gives me a lot of community and sense of connection, and just like being a part of the environment. And it's a little creative, so if you like creative things, I would highly suggest learning coffee. If you like coffee, if you like the environment, do it. It's awesome. But yeah, and it makes enough money to pay for rent and to pay for things, but it's not super luxurious in the fact that you're making a lot of money that you can do whatever you want, right? That kind of goes with these jobs, which is a little stressful, but also it's okay, right? We're gonna figure out other things eventually, but enjoy it when you can. And it's just a very there's a lot of fun in it. There is. It's also, there's not a lot of high stakes. If you screw up, someone will yell at you, someone will be pissed, but at the end of the day, it's just coffee. You're not saving someone's life, putting someone away for treason or anything, or doing any of that. It's not like it's just so chill, which I really appreciate. Now, my other job, also closing, you're in charge of handling money and cleaning the machine and all that, and all of it, which is also cool, but it's, yeah. Another job that I do is, there's 2 other jobs, and I'll just kind of talk briefly about them. The main job that I've done, which a lot of you, if you've been a part of this channel for a while, you have seen me when I've been doing it. Or actually, I guess not. I've been on a hiatus for ever since I started this channel, but I've talked about where I come from and what I used to do. I moved to LA to work in production for TV and films. I am in the union to be a location scout. I am a location scout, so what that means is that when you see any type of movie or show that you see on HBO or Hulu or anything, especially when they're outside, you can't do that easily. It's not easy to film outside. It's a lot. TV and television, if you don't know, it's highly manipulated and controlled. Everything you see is there for a reason. Even the weird banana peel or the weird people in the back, it's all extras and controlled. It's a legality situation. They don't want to be sued if they do that, so what they do is they have to permit and find places. They hire people like me in my team locations to we get a script and we go out and find the locations we can film. We knock on people's doors, we see if they're interested, and then we go through the negotiating of payment and contracts and insurance policies. So I guess I'll kind of talk about what I did on my last project. My last project was a indie film that I don't even think I can say the name. I think it's an NDA, but it's with David Schwimmer and Dominic Fike and some other people as well, and it's an indie film. Hopefully you'll hear about it. We filmed it last August, and that was my last project because then I did my short film flowers, which is gonna be almost done. Hallelujah. I took time to film my own project, but this project, so I only worked indie films. You only work like a month or two, very fast. It takes a month to shoot a movie. I've worked TV. I worked on The Flight Attendant, which is on HBO. I've worked on Dollface on Hulu. Those are months long because you basically have movies which are like an hour long TV episodes, so it takes a while. But what I did is my boss called me in there. He was like, here's the script, read it. I need you to find a house that gives me this feel, that looks like this. He gave me reference photos from the director. And then he's like, we're filming up in Oxnard, which is north of LA. So if you can find, we're filming like at the school, if you can find a house near there so we can link it on that shoot day, that'd be great. So I go up and I'm flying solo, like I'm just by myself, and I go to a neighborhood and I knock on doors, I leave flyers, and I basically say, hey, I'm with so-and-so production company. You might have heard of us from these other films. Or look, we're filming in the area and looking to film at a house, and your house fits our description. If you're interested, please contact me at blah, 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 blah. I would get some phone calls. I also, side note, I didn't learn to do flyers until later. I actually used to, especially on this project, would knock on the doors of every single house, and I'd get rejected, and I'd ask, and I would talk to them and just cold call and be like, hey, I'm a location scout, we love your house, would you be interested? And the next steps, if they said yes, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna have a director scout. The director and the producer would come out, and they came out to Oxnard, and I showed them 5 houses. So they would come up, and I would be like the tour guide and be like, okay guys, we're going to this house first, and then we're gonna go to this place and this place. Let me know what you feel. Do we like it? Do we not? Usually they pick one. Sometimes they don't like any. And then you have to keep working, and it's a little stressful, but I showed them, and they liked one, which was awesome because it was the one person that I bothered initially, and then they said no, and then I bothered them again, and then they're like, actually, yeah, I'm really interested. They were just having a really hard day, and the hard thing about this, you guys, is it was last year, 2022, midst of kind of COVID again, and we were looking to film inside house, so I couldn't really like go into people's houses and see what it looked like. I kind of just had to guess. And this one, it was perfect. It was an Asian film, and it was an Asian man. So it's like, but it was like an Asian themed. It was his mom's place, so it was very, had a lot like ancient Chinese culture in it, which was really beautiful and awesome. So we did that, and then what happens is I said, okay, they like it. Let's negotiate price. And my manager. So I was a key. So there's these things. So there's a location manager, and then there's keys, and then there's assistants. You start off an assistant, then you go up. The producers will hire to get their locations. They will hire a location manager, and then the location manager will hire his or her team, which are keys and then assistants. It's usually like one assistant. The keys are in charge of finding the location. So like the manager will be like, hey, Nick, we're really gonna look for this house, you take on that. And then I'll be like, Trevor, you take on looking for hotels to shoot at. We will do our own things, and then we'll always come back together and be like, okay, this is what I found, this is what we're having difficulty with, and then we're in charge of our own locations. Then the assistant is usually in charge of being there on set days, so we do all the contracts and stuff, and then when we actually shoot there, the assistant will basically keep eyes. They will be there, so if anyone in set needs location stuff, like where anything is, about permitting, about anything that could like go on day, which is like permitting, the police show up, it's like the property gets damaged, we get neighbors, people really not wanting us to film, right? There's a lot of things to do. In LA, there's called Film LA, and what happens is when you film in a neighborhood, you tell Film LA they'll permit your streets and stuff, but then they'll also send these people to go out and like put notices on people's doors being like, hey, people are gonna be filming in the area, beware. which is really, really nice. It's a really nice service. But yeah, we have to permit them, and what happens is, so for instance, I was kind of learning this in my last project. We did a movie. Okay, so I had all these locations, and I, made them sign a contract, and then I got their W-9s for taxes, and then I got their insurance policy, like a $1 million insurance policy to protect their property, right, from any damage when we film. It's really nice because like we basically fix everything up, which is great if we damage it. And I was learning sometimes, so when we film outside, we have a lot of trucks and equipment and a lot of people to film there. So what happens is locations also needs to find what's called a base camp. I was gonna say home base. A base camp, which is where all the trailers live. So when you move to sets outside, if you ever seen like a movie trailer, yeah, so a base camp is like a parking lot where we just shove all the trailers and we hold it out. It's usually gonna be like 10 or less minutes away from actual set, and we'll have vans drive back and forth. These vans will, it's the separation's important because cast and everyone will come to base camp, and it will create less of a footprint at set. The reason you want less of a footprint at set is because neighbors, you don't want to have to pay off neighbors, make them annoyed, but also permitting. Like I said, there's some trucks that need to be on near set, near like that house, right? So what we do is we will permit the streets so that our vehicles can park there, so that they can be close by, so like dropping off equipment, they can be there. However, that costs money. It costs a lot of money. It's a lot cheaper to rent out a parking lot than to have permit all these streets for every single set. The location manager has a budget, a whole budget for the whole production. He's in charge, or she's in charge of delegating it for each part of the film and location. So my job is to just be like, hey, can we spend this amount of money for this? No, okay, then I'm gonna find something else, right? I'm just keep giving options. For permits, we actually have a permit person, which is Film LA person. So I will be like, hey, we're filming here. Can we get a permit from this to this? And I will send all of that information to him, and then he will say yes or no, and then he will give us the permit. We pay him like a service fee. I think it's literally like $25,000 or something to help us, and then we pay for the permits as well. It's something like, I'm like, the money these companies have is ridiculous. So yeah, and so I'm in charge of, I get the house, and then I'm in charge of, making sure the homeowners are happy, and then like we have art department being like, hey, can I screw into this wall? Can I put this light here? And I have to be a delegator, mediator, basically protecting the homeowner and also our crew, being like, no, that you can't ruin this person's home, but also being like, hey, they're gonna do this, they need to do that, is that okay, right? I really loved it on the last one because I also am in charge of who I give money to, right? So we're paying off neighbors, we're paying off properties, and where we were, it was outside of LA, in Whittier too, and these people really needed the money, and they were really gracious and very just appreciative of it. Like in LA, every filming is usually so oversaturated, so like neighbors don't want money, they just don't want you to film there. Like they just get so annoyed because it's like you're blocking driveways, it's hard to get down, street parking is gone, all of that, so I get it. But yeah, I would get paid this, and I'm part of the union, so that basically means that I can get a job whenever I want, which is great. I just have to pay dues, so every quarter of a year, so 4 times a year, I paid $250. It's around $300 now, and I get access to healthcare. I get put on a list, so like location people can call me if they need me, right? Like I just basically get a job. I get healthcare and dental, but it's more about I have to work a certain amount of hours on set. It's like $250 by quarter, and some rollover. But the nice thing, and then I get covered, and it's literally like health coverage. It's like really good. It's like I don't have to pay any fees at all. It's just totally covered, which is great. Like I don't have to. Yeah, it's like maybe a $5 physical. Like it's really cheap. And it's very good. I also get a pension plan and all this, all really good adult things, which is great, right? However, if you're anything like me, sometimes what seems too good to be true sometimes is, or it's more like when you grow up, you kind of really think you want all these things because people tell you, right? You want stability, you want money, you want pensions and healthcare. It's not until you really discover why you need it, then you're attracted to it. And for me, I felt like I was grabbing for these things. I'm very grateful I got this access to this job, but I just didn't appreciate it, and I didn't feel like I needed it. I felt very like contained. Felt like I could do this job forever, and that's great. And it's great. Set life is awesome. You have a walkie-talkie. Locations is awesome because when you're on set, so I'm meeting everything, and then like when we film there, I'm also there, but we're like our own bosses. I can be in my car. I can be on my laptop. I can leave. I can stay. I basically just make sure everything works, and then I can do whatever I want. I get paid for that job. You get paid weekly. You're on salary, so it's under the expectation of working 60 hours a week, but you can work less or you can work more. It's around, I think, like before taxes, if you're an assistant, before taxes, it's around like $1,300 a week. After taxes, like $1,300 a week, versus if you're a key, it's like $1,800 a week. Really great money, and it can be fun. Just so you're aware, though, entertainment, it is 60-hour days. I'm at least working 10-hour days. It's go, 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 go. And because of that, it's not sustainable to do continuously all the time. You need breaks. So that's the nice thing about project base, is that you can take a break and take months off, and then you can come back and work for something. The only thing I've been learning is that writer strikes happen, and it's not always as stable as you thought it would be. Hence me at a coffee shop now. But I can still do locations after the writer strikes come back, and maybe I will. But the great thing too is that, like I was saying with the healthcare and stuff, it's the days that you work, right? Basically, that also is awesome because if I take a break off and I want to work, say, on Flowers, my short film my own stuff, I am still covered by health insurance because it carries over a few months after. So that's awesome. And health insurance, if you're younger than me, is important, just because you never know what's going to happen in your life, and you need, your body and your safety is the most important. Please, I beg you, please have health insurance. Dental, on the other hand, maybe you don't need. Make sure you're brushing your teeth, but you should be going to the dentist. But what I mean is that look into whether it might be cheaper to just pay out of pocket for each dental cleaning and visit, but take care of your teeth as well. Your oral, if you don't take care of this, you're gonna get sick really easily. It's just you're breathing in a lot of stuff, and you need to clean it, and you'll be healthier and cleaner and everything. So yeah, so that's locations, and sometimes managers will bring you onto other projects and all that. I've worked with the manager multiple times, but that's the job. And then yes, and then and obviously if you have any questions about any of these jobs, put them in the comments. Then my last job, which will be very short, is I do Uber Eats. Uber Eats is a car delivery service for food. Anyone can do it. If you need a side gig, I highly recommend it. Hit me up. I'll actually, y'all, if you want to be a huge freaking friend, if you actually want to do Uber Eats, I will put down the link of my promo code or whatever, so that we both get like money from doing it. If you do enough trips, you need to do like 50 trips or whatever, but I would love you. Brilliant. But if you can drive, it's great. You basically go in your car. It's kind of like a taxi game. That's how I first felt like it. There's like a Simpsons taxi run game that I used to play as a kid, but you're just driving, and then something will pop up and be like pick up, and you'll pick it up, and then you'll just drop it off, and it's super easy. And it's food, and I do that from you should try to do it on my off days. I was gonna do that today, but then I decided to film, so lucky me and lucky you. But I gotta do it tomorrow, but I usually do it like 2 hours at lunch, 2 hours at night for lunch and dinner, and you can make around $50 for 2 hours if you hit it right. So it's like $100 a day. And the nice thing about Uber Eats is that you pick your hours, you also pick which offers you want to take, and you also get the money immediately. You get an app, it goes straight into an app, and you have a card that they send to you, and you could just pay for things immediately, which is really great. And it's just good for flexibility. You know, sometimes we just need extra money, and sometimes you want to splurge on things, right? So that's what I do. I drive and I do Uber Eats, and yeah, they also have like some benefits as well, but I haven't really looked into it. So yeah. Oh, but for Uber Eats, I have like a container that I put all the food in, and like to keep my car clean and everything. And then it's weirdly rewarding as well. You're like giving people their dinner and lunch, which they look forward to. And so by delivering it, you're kind of like making someone's day, which is also awesome. But then again, all of these jobs are hard work. You know, this is work no one really likes to talk about their jobs, right? Because they're usually trying to run away from it. But I am a believer that we should be working and doing jobs that kind of fulfill us, or we enjoy some parts of it. It's not going to be a perfect match ever. Work will always be work. Just remember that. You will never fall in love with work fully, and once you realize that, you will find a lot more peace with what you do. So I hope you found this interesting. Let me know what job you would have out of those three, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions or what you do for work as well. ASMR artist, please, or anyone, make a video doing what you work to. I'm so curious what y'all do, and because there's a perception what you do versus what you do daily, right? So yeah, if no one's told you today, you are looking phenomenal. You are a wonderful human being. I am so proud of you. You're doing great, whether you feel like it or not. You are just doing wonderful things in your life, and I'm very, very proud of you. Remember to like and comment. That is the best way to support this channel. It really, really does. Please, even if you're here now, well, if you made it this far, leave an emoji of an alien emoji. I will absolutely adore you, and I'll give you extra love in the comments. But yeah, if you like my videos, it would be awesome if you like and comment at the beginning of videos. I know these videos are made to fall asleep and everything, or to chill, but it really, really helps our hive to grow, and for us to just get a deeper, better community of just wonderful human beings. If you are looking to grow as a human being, if you're looking to just find your weirdness, be who you are, and, you know, just let it all go, and just kind of like come back to your roots as a kid, and, you know, love yourself and learn to love others that are different than you, this place is for you. So consider subscribing, and I would love and welcome you to the family. I know everyone else will too. Just as I know we are bees, because we are all floating through this world, being ourselves, being kind, and we all come back to this hive. We all might be different, look different, doing different things. We're all in this world together, but we come home to rest and to be here and to be loved, and I love you. Thank you for loving me and for chilling with me today. So I'll see you in my next video, and adios, amigo.